Greetings everyone, Joe Davis here from Southern New Hampshire University, Justice 224 Legal Research. Take a brief moment or two to talk about a little overview of week 4 for us. Let me clear the little PowerPoint introduction. Week 4, this should look familiar, the module, the material that we're going to cover. We're going to select various secondary sources to find controlling law for an issue. Now what that means is in milestone 1, you developed your fact pattern analysis, then you went through and came up with your legal issues, and then you outlined the steps that you would take to do your research. All right, we're in week 4, where for milestone number 2, you're actually going to do that research. So that's why that's a learning objective. We're going to explain the research techniques to be used on the basis of the research process for a specific issue. And I know for some of you, I would write back in your papers because you'd have the research methods all in just one paragraph. And that doesn't always work out because, as this just said, you need different research methods for different legal issues. And that's why I was trying to get you to make that differentiation in week 2. You're going to have to do it now, of course. Then analyze the laws in case study to determine whether they control the respective legal issues. And I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge for some of you because you picked issues that will require a great deal of review of case studies and secondary sources, and not statutory law, which is a little easier. All right, so let's take a look at the overview for this week and see what it says. And once again, I'm not going to sit and read this to you, but make you aware of it. It's very short. When it says internet-based research, no Google, no Wikipedias, no Bing, none of those, okay? The internet is a system that you're going to use to get to the Shapiro Library, to get to Cornell Law, as it says in the next one, the American Jurisprudence, those kinds of resources, find law, all that kind of stuff. So frankly, it's pretty obvious when you just Google something and then your answers don't quite match or they're not quite on the right page, no pun intended. So I know we've talked about legal encyclopedias. That's where, for example, where some of you in the case study, your legal issue has to do with generally two things. Is Victor going to be tried as a juvenile or an adult? And then some of you want to write about, is Victor mentally capable of committing a crime? Those are two very, very complex issues. You're welcome to work on them. They are legal issues. However, you're going to spend a significant amount of time going through legal encyclopedias looking for secondary sources somewhere where you can find a case that involves a 13-year-old gang affiliate with ADD, history of abuse, who kills or attempts to kill a United States soldier in public. Okay, that's a pretty narrow field. I'm guessing there are not a lot of those cases out there. But you're going to have to find those cases. Then you're going to have to read the case law to understand what it says. Okay, law review articles can be just as useful. They are a review, so they're a little shorter, much like what you've maybe seen in the FBI bulletins, things like that. And legal treatises, some of you have mentioned using those, and I think I've convinced you to maybe rethink that. They're wonderful, wonderful documents. However, they're very, very focused. They get down to a very specific issue, and an attorney, an academic, will write a very in-depth review of it. So you're instead of trying to expand and look at an encyclopedia and figure out what's going on, you're getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Constitutions, yes, of course, the constitutions. Every once in a while a student will write that in the case of where the police shove Victor's mom out of the way and search the house and arrest Victor and then seize evidence, that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. It probably is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. However, there's no penalty attached to that. The second paragraph of the Fourth Amendment doesn't say that it carries 1 year in jail. So what you have to do, if we're looking for those types of violations, it alerts you that it's a violation. You have to go back to case law or to statutory law, secondary or primary sources, and then look and see if, in this case, the mom, if her civil rights were violated, or if Victor's civil rights were violated. And if they were violated, you have to find that in secondary sources, then go to the statutory link, because it may be under the United States Code a violation of civil rights. Once again, an accurate legal issue, but boy, that's a lot of research versus perhaps some of the less complex issues. All I'm after for you is that you learn the steps. And boy, if you want to tackle these, great, I'll read them. Statutory law, we should know what that is by now. Penal code, vehicle code are the ones that we're primarily concerned about. We're not going to worry too much about the evidence code, and health and safety, and all those kinds of things. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers that part a little bit. Let's take a look down here too. Finding your way through the court system. If you're unsure about the court system, this is fine. It supports your Milestone 2 project, the activity 4-2. But I think of equal importance to you is this one here, where it says it's the legal research strategies. And this is an extension of what we've been working on all along. Some of you have written about the IRAC method. We'll pick that up in week 7. This is kind of an in-between. So you can see the listing of general topics, which hopefully I've covered these kinds of things with you up to this point. Then finally you get to the research strategy. These are steps that you may elect to follow. The textbook has 4 steps in it. The idea is they're all very, very similar, that you're going to do a factual analysis. We call it a fact pattern analysis. And then you're going to generate a research vocabulary. I can't emphasize that enough. When Benny gives Victor the gun, tells him take care of Dan, and Victor follows Dan out, that's a criminal conspiracy. Okay, they have an overt act toward the commission of the crime of the attempted murder of Dan. Had Victor pushed the gun back and said no, you would have had no crime. Well, that's not true. You wouldn't have had the crime of criminal conspiracy. Sorry about that. Okay, so you want to come up with theft, grand theft, auto theft, whatever it is, so that you can get an idea of what to research. Then you collect your background information. Same things are listed there. Then you identify and frame your issues. That's the analysis of your case. If you look at the critical elements, you'll see that those are very, very similar. Then you search the authorities, reevaluate, reanalyze, and update and verify. So I think you should get the idea of how that goes for you, and then write your project. I hope that helps you a little bit for week 2. Just a quick overview. Keep the cards and letters coming. Anything I can do to help, let me know.